Hi everyone, this is Elena of the Witches Box, and I'm here to make another episode of Witchbooktube, and today we're covering another book by Anousen Leonte, and it is called Sigil Meditation. I'll show it to you. As always, I mentioned this before that all of these books come only in digital format. They are all about $2.99 with the exception of one that I can't find now, so the price may have changed, but they're pretty affordable. And because I'm finding so much really important information in each of these books, we are going to be on a marathon that this is likely the third week of. I will begin to link below all the videos that we've covered for this writer so that you can kind of see them all in one list. So yeah, let's get into it. We talked last week about probably the first book that I would recommend that you read of his on sigil magic and working with sigils. It's called Sigils the Basics, or Sigil Magic the Basics, because that gives you a good foundation, and it gives you a much deeper foundation than anything that we have covered in the past through our communication in the Witches Box world, right? So I've done, I think, 2 other book reviews on sigils. There was the book 6 Ways that talked a lot about working with sigils and servitors. So there's that. But Anousen Leonte's book that covers what he considers the basics of sigil magic speaks to those things in a much deeper way. So his foundation is much more of like a 201. It's not a basic 101 by any means. I definitely recommend that. Again, he's got about 4 books that speak to different ways to work with sigils. This one I found particularly interesting, and I want to read to you a decently sized quote that kind of explains a little bit about what he means by sigil meditation and what the reason for it is. So, as sigil magic gives a way of using all types of spell casting in one simple format, and as evocation through sigil magic gives a way of potentially contacting any type of spirit through a basic, testable, and repeatable method, so sigil meditation gives a means of exploring internal worlds and subtle external worlds through one practice. It conveys a type of spirituality which has no set conclusions, but is based on pure exploration and experiment, a mapless spirituality, you might say. However, if you are wandering, you still need to know how to move and how to point yourself in a particular direction, and sigil meditation helps you do that. Another quote that I want to share just to kind of give you an idea of what this book is about. The benefit of sigil meditation is not so much in the information that emerges, but rather in the non-conceptual, intuitive ways the mind responds to the sigil itself. When meditating upon a sigil which contains information, however, the act is simply a means of attaining information, and there is no dialogue, interaction, etc. in their normal time-bound sense. You are purely receiving impressions. So this book is about, it's a little abstract. It took me a minute to kind of get into the mind frame of what he was talking about. Using sigils as a way to, almost as a portal into specific pockets or transmissions of information. So it's a way for you to receive information, to explore information about certain things through the use of sigils. The sole purpose of this is to explore and to expand and to experiment. There is no magical spell to create something, to get you something, to shift something, to bring in a deity. It's none of that. It's simply to dive into downloads, to open up a portal. He doesn't use the word portal, but this is how I received it. To open up a portal to have a download of information, and to do that just for the sake of expansion, exploration, and education for yourself, which is something that we don't really talk a lot about when it comes to our witchcraft practice. So much of being a witch is this driven, intention-oriented, goal-oriented path, movement, energy, where we are seeking something. We're seeking to heal, we're seeking to get more money, we're seeking to X, Y, and Z. This is just about setting time aside for yourself to open up and receive whatever may come of your intention-like direction, right? So like it could be learning about elements, and this is something that he talks about in another book that I will definitely share with you, but learning about the feel and the vibration and the esoteric sense of an element or a concept or a number or an astrological sign or a planetary energetic. All of these different things are just examples of ways that you can just sit ritually and open to these specific downloads, whatever they may be. You don't know what's going to come. And the beauty of it is in the trust and in the opening to just explore. I really just felt very enlivened by this idea, by remembering that spirituality and a spiritual path can be so much about exploration and discovery when you don't even know that you're there to discover the thing. It really brings, I think, for me, a sense of adventure in our spiritual practice and walk, because you're just open, which is amazing and can be a little unnerving for people, right? Because we're so used to like planning and making sure, and the intention has to be honed and lasered right. This is just open and receive. I really got turned on by that. So this book, Sigil Meditations, is about this, how to do this. I'm going to read another chunky quote to you because he's making a comparison between when you do sigil work to evoke a spirit and how it's different when you do sigil meditation to kind of open yourself up to downloads. This is what he says. You will note that when you evoke a spirit, it speaks to you through the collected images and impressions that you've had, and though it sometimes transforms them or places them in new arrangements, it often speaks in a way that is patterned after language, conveying itself so that it can be understood. However, when you have a successful sigil meditation, it does not speak like language. It is instead an encounter with experiences and images that are prior to language or beyond language. Yet as soon as you have them in your memory, they become part of your magical vocabulary. You can perceive more because you have more experiences in your repertoire, and words begin in things which are not words, just as the word blue has no significance save for bringing to mind the memory of the color blue. This is the reason for this type of meditation. I found it to be a rich read. I found it to be a beautiful door to walk through. I was also inspired by the fact that I don't do this enough. I'd love to spend some time or dedicate some time each month or maybe once a season where it is just about being available to the adventure of downloading something where I don't necessarily know where it might be going. I think it's a beautiful tool for expansion and for broadening our sense of the universe and energy, and how there are so many other ways of communication and understanding and information. Loved it. I give this a 4. These kind of teeter for me between a 4 and a 4.5. Maybe he'll get a 5 one day. I really am loving reading this person's work. I keep recommending it to those of you who are really turned on by sigil witchery. I think that it's a beautiful way of magic. There is more to come. We're going to continue diving into these books. There is a couple more books on sigils that he has written that I will share with you in the coming weeks. And until then, please make sure to subscribe. On your screen at the end of this video, there will be a link on the video for you to click so that you make sure not to miss any more of these videos. And down below in the description box, we will have all sorts of links for things that you might be interested in looking at. And if you're doing this work, if you've read Anousen Leonte's work, and you've been doing your sigil work, I would love to hear all about it down below. Please make sure to comment. I love talking to you all about all these things. And I will see you next time. Blessed be.